We saw that justification brings sonship, and that's what we saw there when we were in verses 12 through 17. And within this area of sonship, what we saw was that we are now adopted, and we are not just children of God, but we're adopted children, and then we're heirs. Now, we inherit everything that's in Christ, which is a beautiful thing. But one of the things that we don't anticipate inheriting of everything that's of Christ, where we saw in verse 17, we also inherit suffering. But the suffering is temporary, and after the suffering, we inherit this thing called glorification. We're forever with God in heaven. And then as we went through verses 18 through 30, we basically saw this path of suffering to glory, how the world itself is groaning. There's a reason why we're suffering. And so we looked at that. But it's also this area where it draws us into where we're going to be with God eternally into glory. And now we're at this point of seeing in verse 31 this unshakable security that we who are justified, the justified believer, has in Christ. And so we see that one thing as we are beginning to see this is our relationship with God is unshakable. That when God has made this relationship, that relationship is not going to bend or shift. It's unshakable. We begin to see that our walk, the power, is unshakable. The Spirit comes, He just guides us and leads us. And so we see that. And then lastly, we saw that our destiny, our eternity in heaven, that is unshakable. So those three things that we saw there at the beginning of verse 8, our standing, our walk, our destinies, now we begin to see here at the end, those three things are beginning to show us that it is unshakable. So in verse 31, let's take a look at this. It's the question of this supreme triumphant standing that we have in Christ. And so we ask this question, what shall we say to these things? Now, I'm not going to go over all of them in detail because I just did. What shall we say to these things? Not just chapter 8, but everything that he's done from chapter 3, verse 21, now to chapter 8:30. All that is condensed. The entire thing that we learned about justification, now he's going to just wrap this up. He's going to give this incredible, powerful conclusion to this doctrine of justification.